Recording. Hey, this is Cam, and I'm back with a quarantine series, and I'm spending a few minutes with just best friends in the entire world, and we're here to celebrate Moe Bell with his great career, who's just on the verge of retirement in the next few weeks, days, minutes. But I got some great guys here with us just to share and talk a little bit with Moe, and you guys introduce yourselves. Start with you, Danny.
Danny McConnell, president of the YMCA in Augusta, Georgia. Been in this business, I guess this is my 38th year as an exempt staff person, and you can do the math on it. June in '75 is when I went to work part-time for the Y, but all that time I've just been striving that one day I would grow up and be like Moe. So that's my goal before I retire.
Bernie.
I'm Bernie Whitson. I serve as the leadership consultant for the South Carolina State Alliance of YMCAs, and I've been in the Y 40 years, and it's a special time to celebrate Moe, and looking forward to the comments tonight, and there's a lot of fun stories. I know we won't be able to get in all of them, but great leader.
Yeah, the time before we hit record and the time after we hit stop is going to be much better. But that's the public cannot hear they only can hear the edited version of what we're going to say tonight. So, Rick.
Rick Calips, YMCA of Greater Spartanburg. I started in February 1981, so 39 years.
Wow.
And Moe, everybody loves Moe. That's all I can say. Nobody, you can't find anybody saying anything bad about Moe.
No,
I got a funny story to tell before we do get off. So.
Well, that's good. We'll give you your time. So, Moe, introduce yourself, and how many years have you been with the Y?
Frank Moe Bell. I go by Moe. I've been with the YMCA for 47 years. Started out in Wilkes County, North Carolina, as the physical director. An old title that meant you ran sports and whatever else needed to be done.
Who hired you into the Y?
Paul Reynolds. He had worked at Rock Hill. I actually have 4 more years full time as a student at Winthrop University that worked part-time at the Y, 37 hours, not really part-time. But when I graduated, Paul had an opening in North Wilkesboro, and I went there. Had a great time in Wilkes County, a small mountain town. Worked hard, lots of hours, really competitive sports leagues. But Cam, one of my favorite memories there is I also ran the summer day camp. We were always looking for a free trip. We didn't spend money in those days and such. And we would take the kids, load them up on the bus, and we would go to an R.J. Reynolds tobacco cigarette company where they made cigarettes and take a tour. And after the tour, all the campers would get a sample pack of cigarettes or chewing tobacco. And they were so proud of that, and they would take them home to their family. And if you did that today, I don't know what they call it, DSS, the National Y, the newspaper, somebody, but that things have changed a lot since 1973.
So did you drive the bus, and did you have a CDL?
I learned to drive the bus on the mountains of Wilkesboro, and no, I didn't even know what a CDL was. And yeah, the typical days, Bernie will tell you the same thing.
Yeah.
You don't want your boss to take
CDL.
You hop on the bus, and you fill them up with the kids, and off you go, and they're singing and making noise, and you might have 2 or 3 counselors to help control them if you're lucky.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. So I hope I hope I'm asking for the right story, because I've heard this before, but tell your intro into the Y story.
Well, for me, Robert Hope was my mentor. He was a CEO, and I was just the guy running the game room. I ran sports, helped with referee and things like that. But one day we were in the car together, and he asked if I'd ever considered the Y. And I really had thought about it. The truth is, back then, I sort of wanted to be a coach, and I sort of wanted to be a preacher. And I thought being a YMCA director was right in the middle, the Christian mission, but we're around sports, and I knew sports pretty well, and it just turned out to be a match made in heaven. I'm one of those few guys, most of y'all too, that even when I was 21, 22, 23, I knew what I wanted to do the rest of my life, and I lived the dream. I really been nothing but fun the entire ride.
Yeah. So would you consider this a calling?
Yeah. I mean, the hours you work, and you don't look at the clock, and you see all the good you're doing, and you know some of your friends are making a lot more money, that kind of thing. But it's you're helping the community, but it's also it's enjoyable. And you know the old cliche is if you find a job you love, you'll never work a day of life. Well, that's most YMCA directors that stick in it for the long term. They found something they enjoy doing. They're not looking at the clock. They're just rewarded by the good things they're doing.
So how many years was Robert Hope the CEO?
He was CEO for 27 years. I was CEO for 28 years. I had to beat him. And but I beat him. I can move on. So 55 years in Rock Hill with 2 CEOs. That's unbelievable. And it's probably not good, but that's what we had, and it's worked pretty well.
No, I think that's great. I know this is a hard question to answer for any of us because you've had so many leaders, but are there 2 or 3 staff that stand out for you that just you were close with, did a great job, whatever, however you describe it, 2 or 3 of your favorite staff?
Well, you know, you do have a lot of good ones, and the hope is you have a young staff member you can mold, and they'll eventually go on to something bigger, better, and greater things. Most of our guys sort of hung around or either switched to another profession. But Jimmy Ray was one of my favorite.
Oh, gotcha.
He started working with your dad
Yeah.
in Greenville and Simpsonville, and at some point got out of the Y and worked for a company. And when my CEO resigned, spot was open, and I hired Jimmy Ray, and he was one of my best friends ever. He was like me. He wasn't very good at golf, but he loved to play, and he worked hard. He had the mission. He had everything. And unfortunately, Jimmy Ray died at an early age. He had diabetes. He died about 55. He's one of my favorite. More recent, Crystal Ross is as good as they come. She started with Bernie too, and everybody's starting up in the Greenville area. And Crystal's got a cheerful personality and has many good qualities. John Gordon, a name that many of you do not know, ran our summer camp. John's excellent. He's now left the Y, and he's working with Springs Industries in charge of a 2,100 nature park, as well as 4 18-hole golf courses and a lot of other things for the Close family in Fort Mill. John's a really sharp guy.
Great. And you had to overcome employees like Rob Youngblood and people like that, but we won't get too deep in the woods with somebody like Rob. What are some of your proudest accomplishments?
Well, I guess the growth has to be, and that seems sort of artificial, but even though I was here for a long time, it was never stale. There was always something going on. And in the end, I'm somewhat of a deal maker. That's sort of what I'm good at, I guess, creating partnerships. And we created a lot of them. We went from 2 locations in 1991 to we'll open one in Indian Land in this summer. That'll be 16 locations. It's hard for a YMCA or any nonprofit to grow. You just don't have a lot of capital money, and it's somewhat of a risk. And most Y directors or operators of nonprofits are afraid to take a chance. They're really conservative and always sort of afraid to try something that might not work. And I wasn't that guy. I guess I tried a thing or 2 early in my career and it worked, and that gave me confidence to do more. I've got probably the best partnership any Y ever did was with the Clover School District. The superintendent wanted a place for his swim team to meet, and I turned that one meeting into us providing swim lessons for 3rd graders, being a swim team host, and him floating a bond, $16 million to build a YMCA. No debt. The school district owns it. We manage it for 25 years, and it's a great Y in a great area that has a good cash flow.
Yeah.
Good profit in the Y. We say cash flow.
Yeah, that's good. Those are awesome. Give us a couple, 28 years as CEO, but 47 in the Y, you said. So what's the keys to longevity?
Well, I think always it's a skill set that not everybody has. You have to be a good leader, and you also have to be a good follower. A lot of people are not good at following. It's more fun to lead. But when you have a board of directors, you can guide them and nudge them, but at the end of the day, they're the boss, and you've got to realize that. So you try to persuade them to do that. So I think and of course your board chair is critical. So if you have a chance, influence who that is so you can at least have somebody that's reasonable and appreciates your talents a little bit going into the job.
Man, that's great. So for the guys listening, we'll just start with you, Danny. Give us a Mo story, or what do you think are some of the keys to Mo's success?
Well, I heard it already. First thing is I've just never met anybody that didn't like Moe Bell.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that. And it's hard, you make that statement about people, but it's hard to find somebody that everybody likes. And particularly somebody who's been through the ranks like he has. I mean, he's had to make a lot of tough decisions along the way, and you heard about some of the things he's accomplished, but you don't do those things without bumping a few noses along the way. And yet, if you can do all that, and at the end of the day, grow the mission and represent it well as a leader, and then just make a lot of friends along the way. That's kind of really what it's all about, is the relationships that all of us have had and have experienced. And, sitting here with this group tonight and thinking about the people on this phone call, I mean, Moe Bell, I have a tremendous amount of respect for, but I do for everybody on this call. And, that's probably what stands out about Moe the most for me, is he's just really good at relationship building and friendships. And I'm just personally thankful to call him my friend.
Yeah, that's great comments. What about you, Bernie? You've probably known Mo the longest, I would imagine.
Yep, 40 years. Mo and I both came out under the tutelage of Robert Hope. Robert got me into the YMCA as well. And much like Mo, he offered me a great deal that I turned down. I can make $1,400 less a year than I was already making at a sporting goods store.
Yeah.
But long term, in about 4 or 5 months, we turned around. I got into the Y thanks to Robert. But during that time, got to know Mo. And I have to really say that if I count on one hand, my best friends, Moe Bell is one of those on one hand. He's one of my top 5 best friends. We go back 40 years. Our families have vacationed together. We've gone on trips together. Our kids have grown up together. Mo and I, for the last 20 years, have been roommates whenever there was a YMCA conference anywhere. I think due to the fact that we both snore like bears, but that's okay. We got along well. And done a lot of golf trips and things together. But I tell you, speaking of my friend Mo, I think of the Bible verse where God talks about the man that humbles himself, I will exalt, and the man that exalts himself, I will humble. And I got to tell you, Moe Bell is one of the most humble men that I've ever met in my life. He's always looking to the best in someone else, and he is just the kind of leader that he doesn't look for the credit. He always looks to do, how did I change somebody's life? And when he mentioned that he thought about being a preacher at one time, I would say, Moe Bell, that you have probably had the opportunity to impact more lives in the YMCA in your 47 years than if you stood behind a pulpit from a large church somewhere. And I'm grateful, brother, that you have had that kind of leadership, because you have changed a lot of people in your world, and I'm proud.
Amen. Amen. That's great.
I completely agree.
Rick Caleb's.
Well, first of all, Bernie, I'll have to disagree with you on one thing. I roomed with him at the CEO retreat in 2015. And I had this crazy dream of riding a bike up to Mount Mitchell the following week. I didn't want to come to the retreat because of that. I ended up with Mo. So I was sleep deprived for 3 days when I tried to make that bike ride, because he can rattle the windows with the snore. I'll give you that.
Rick had a free room and he turned it down because of his sensitivity to a little noise at night. A free room, a $200 room, free.
Yeah, Cam, when we get to roast Rick one day, when he retires, I want you to do this again, because there will be different stories.
We're talking about Mo.
Humble's not going to be part of it.
Hey, Bernie, you had your turn. Hey, if I'm thinking about Mo, the word comes to mind is generosity. He is always there to put his hand out, welcome people, help people. If you need something, he'll be there to help you. And he's always let kids and grandkids of South Carolina directors go to his camp, and changed my granddaughter's life. She loves it. I mean, and I got to tell this funny story though. When he announced his retirement, they advertised it on the vacancy list. I had like 3 people call me and said, "Hey, tell me about the Rock Hill store job." I said, "You don't want that job." They said, "Why?" I said, "Rule number 1, you never follow a legend." A legend. And so 1 out of the 3 did not apply, but 1 out of the 3 got the job. So it didn't listen to me. So, but I said, "No, you don't want to take that job. You can follow anybody. Don't follow Moe Bell because he's the best, and you can't fill those shoes." And but 2 of them did. 2 of them made both of them made final cuts. But I told them not to do it, Mo. So the new people don't listen. But
I've left so much money in the budget, they'll be fine for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But Mo, I mean, he always, generosity is what I think of when I think of him, because he always reaches out and does for others. And he's just a great example of that. I just feel fortunate I've got to spend time with him that I have in the last, I've been in South Carolina for 22 years. And I knew him a little bit before that, too.
Yeah. Well, that's great comments about you, Mo. I was fortunate, again, for most people may not know, I'm a second generation. And when Mo started as CEO, my father was the CEO in South Carolina. And Mo was one of his favorites. And so I told him 6 months ago, I said, "Moe Bell's retiring." And my dad, who's 85, said, "Mo's retiring? Hell, he's only about 48 years old, isn't he? He can't retire." I said, "No, Dad, he's about 73, I think." No, okay.
68.
Yeah.
69 on July 4th, which is my formal birthday.
Man, that's awesome. Well, this group here, we got to play golf together, some of us once or twice a year, and spend time together. And Rick's right. When I have a question, sometimes I'll get on the phone. I've called everybody on this call and said, help me, give me some advice. But Mo's usually one of the first on the list that I call, always eager to do it. I even went and spent a half day with him, brought my staff over just to listen to him. And that's kind of risky because we get in the car on the way back, and I know they're going, "Gosh, I'd rather work for him than Cam." Cam, why can't you be more like him? Kind of thing. So, Mo, if you could give advice to the Y leaders of the future, what's advice would you share?
I'm gonna give 2 suggestions, and they're both so simple. First of all, you need to do things better than right. And what I mean by that is good enough is not good enough. You really have to do things. Every little thing needs to be done exceptionally well. And the assumption is if you're good at one thing, you'll be good at more. Charlie Cleveland got his start. He was a college student. He was married young, and he was folding towels. That was his job at the Y. And he must have been really good at folding towels, because when he graduated, the director hired him as a full-time staff member. If you don't know Charlie Cleveland, he progressed through the ranks and was the operations director of the National Y in Chicago, the Y of USA. If he was not good at folding towels, I don't know that he ever would have been invited to join the Y staff. As silly as that sounds, no matter what your job is, do it really well. The second bit of advice is to enjoy yourself and have a sense of humor. I like to laugh and enjoy myself, and I like to be around people that like to laugh and enjoy themselves. Cam mentioned Rob Youngblood. Rob started at the Y, ended up, he's president of the Chamber of Commerce. He's just such a likable guy, has the craziest sense of humor. And everybody on this phone call has a great sense of humor. It's just more fun to be around people you enjoy. You don't have to be funny, but you have to have a pleasant personality. Goes a long way. And you don't get that in college. You just have to sort of look for it in the opportunities and take advantage of them. We have football pools when there's the NCAA is on. We just make the job fun, and it just seems to be more enjoyable, and you work a little harder at it when you're enjoying yourself.
Man, that's great.
I thought I heard Rick Caleb in here. It's after.
Hey, man, let's put the star. Put her on camera. Let's see her.
Yeah, my wife has a sense of humor too. That was
It's after 8 o'clock. How did I hear Rick Caleb? I thought he was snoozing.
I would only do this for Moe Bell. I only stay up this late for Moe Bell.
He'll be in bed by 8:30. Don't worry.
Marcia made
Yeah. Well, we all know the key to your success is your bride, because on many of these conferences, you loaded the family up in the truckster and y'all all slept in one room in the floor and on top of each other, and enjoyed the pool at Disneyland or wherever y'all were at.
Absolutely. We used to take the Y on ski trips to Colorado, and we'd get a 1-bedroom condo and put 7 people in it. It's okay. We still had a good time.
Any parting shots from the crowd?
Cam, from my perspective as for Mo, Mo, I just want to tell you, man, I love you. I have enjoyed the 40-year run with you. I look forward to us spending time together in the hope God grants us many more years of happiness. And you just meant a lot to me as my friend, and I am grateful for not only your friendship, but how you've impacted this YMCA movement. You are a leader. You're a star. Gary Luckridge used to always use the terminology, the Mount Rushmore of YMCAs. Mo, you would definitely be on the Mount Rushmore of YMCA. I joke and tell Gary that I'm on the back side of the route on the face. I'm probably on the horse's rear side. but I just love you, man. Appreciate what you've done in a while, and hope you have a lot of success and happiness.
Danny?
Well, I just tell him that, man, I just want to know how he figured out the time was right. I mean, that's here we're all sitting in right now. And how did you come to terms with it? The time's now.
No, the time was January before this coronavirus got started, and among many other things. So I was actually about 3 months late, Danny, but you're right. It may be I'm getting out good. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But what I'd like to say
go ahead, Danny. I'm sorry.
I just want to tell him how much I respect him. I have known Mo for a long time, and I've always had this high level of respect. And I just want to tell him he did it right. We could all quickly say that of how, all of us want to look back at our careers and feel like we made some impact. But he's got to be proud for what he's accomplished. It's been a lot. I've watched all the things from a distance that he's done, and I just have a high level of respect for the accomplishments both on the YMCA side, but I just said it earlier, the thing I like most about him, I just like Mo. So after all that other stuff he got done in the Y movement, I just thank him for the kind of person he is and appreciate his friendship and love him too.
Great. Rick?
Yeah, I echo that. I love Mo. I mean, everybody loves Mo. And we played so much golf together. He's the only guy I know that breaks his wrist playing racquetball, knocks 10 strokes off his handicap. But probably not a recipe for most people, golfers, to take. But he actually got about 10 strokes better. But we played a ton of golf together through CEO retreats and some other times too. And he's just a fantastic person. I echo. I got a lot of respect for him. I love watching what he's done up there, and the number of people that he's impacted is phenomenal. And to be able to stay there for that long and reinvent yourself and keep growing is that's a lot of talent there. And
yeah.
And so yeah, he's top notch in my book, and I could never repay him for all the things that he's done for me.
Yeah, those are great comments, and I'm lucky that I just got to facilitate tonight. Because I get choked up if I talk too much about Mo. But Mo, I hope you know we love you. And there are so many people that are going to be jealous that I didn't get them on this call. And we may need to do multiples of these, actually, because there's a lot of people that want to share these sentiments with you. But we're brothers, and we love you, and we're always going to be there. I hope we get to spend, like Bernie said, spend a lot more time together doing this thing. And for everybody that gets to watch this, if you're a leader of somebody that you want to stick in the Y, make them watch this, because I wish everybody had the dream to have a 40-year Y career. And the people that leave, they don't know what they're missing out. And you're talking about 38, 40, 39, and 47. And I've got 34 full-time, but I'm at 40 if you count my part-time career. And but we've all been blessed. And Mo, you're part of our blessing.
Let me add that if you're encouraging the young guys to stay with it, about 2 years ago, I started looking seriously at my retirement income and found out I was going to make more retired than working. So, hey, why are you working? It's a great, why retirement is wonderful. Just stick with it. and you will, unlike a lot of your friends who are investing in stock market and they're worried about everything, I am set for life. I'll have more money than I need. I'll be able to play golf and travel and do anything I want to do. So I've paid my dues, and the Y is about to reward me with the retirement program, and I am thrilled about that.
Yeah.
You know, Cam, and if you really think about the number of hours you put in here, in dog years, we're probably a lot older than the 34, 37, 39, 40.
Yeah.
I mean, you put in a lot of time and effort. But
Well, but the Y keeps
Mo,
me up to-
I'm glad to know you're set for life. I'll let you pick up the tab next time we play golf. That'd be good. So.
Well, just send me an annual campaign pledge. I look forward to contributing.
Mark that down, Kimmery. If you're listening to this, put that down. He's a prospect for it. But that's what I hope people listen and learn. That that you said it. Love what you do, and you lived it, breathed it, and loved it, and that's the key to your success. And you had a bride that also supported that and chased you around and had a good time and laughed with you. So great family, just a great. So enjoy that. That's our prayer for you, Mo. And we'll continue to pray for you, is that you just get to spend a lot of time with your family and enjoy yourself. So thank you.
Thank all of you. I appreciate your kind words.
Cam, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thanks, Cam.
Good luck to you, brother.